Hi, I'm Marc Sumner, CEO and founder of Robertson Sumner. Welcome to the Channel Chat podcast, where we will share learnings, best practices and failures with some of the biggest names in the IT industry.
I'm seeing a lot of partners putting out rapid communications around, and Insight being one of them. I've seen it, webinar, join this webinar about learning about home working, or landing pages and education and white papers, and all really good stuff around communication about educating clients. I didn't see, and I'm not saying Insight, but in general, I didn't see much of that before about educating clients. I think we all have the tools, etc. So why do you think there's this necessity now to sort of increases communication? Is it just because we're working from home, or why has that happened?
I think there are a number of things. I think that, of course, we did an awful lot of face-to-face events where we may have been providing education. And actually, we always did have quite a lot of webinars, but not as many as now. And what we're learning from our clients is that their companies aren't necessarily as well structured or had as much natural technology in place to support this immediate working from home movement. Now, we were incredibly lucky, and we were able to transition instantly and overnight without any business impact to that. And we kind of thought, I think, that the majority of companies would be at that point, but actually they really weren't. I mean, they really weren't. So it's been, this is a time of sharing and caring. This is a time of, well, let's help them with the lessons that we have learned. Let's help share, our experience, and let's help really focus on the things that are going to make a difference. Fundamentally, we want to support them continuing to be successful. There was a statistic this week on BBC that was 800,000 businesses are 3 weeks away from collapse. And some of that is because there is a lack of understanding of the technology that is available to support these sorts of times. And if we can educate a few of those so that they can continue to function and continue to be productive and continue to engage their teammates and their suppliers and their clients, then we've done a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think, obviously being in operations now, but your whole career was sales, from an operational point of view, how can businesses now adapt to basically having all their sales staff in one place where they can actually touch and feel and say hello, etc., to now being dispersed and trying to deploy technology and it doesn't work, there's no Wi-Fi? How can operationally they can get a grasp of what's actually going on now and try and get back to business as usual?
So I guess that operationally there's a lot of back to basics. What is it that you do? Why are you doing it? Are those the right measures for today? They may be the right measures for the future, but what we have had to do is look at, well, who's doing what? Why are they doing that now? Is that going to support this country in continuing to be successful going forward? So you take a tactical pause, little military term, you take a tactical pause, you review as quickly as you can your priority order of things, you review the outputs that you need now, not what you needed last week or the week before, because the one thing that is more certain than ever is this is changing on an hour by hour basis. So it's being able to keep your eye on the long-term goal, but being really flexible and agile to navigate every single day. Again, Insight has been very fortunate. I have been very fortunate. We had a great infrastructure and we have been able to maintain throughput and momentum. But that doesn't come without us being on phone calls morning, noon and night. It doesn't come without us having to reprioritize and recategorize what people are doing, very, very much why they're doing it. So we talk a lot. I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek. Anybody who hasn't read looked at his LinkedIn posts and the videos that he's sharing daily at the moment, really would encourage and recommend people doing that. if we take it back down to the why, what's changed? Why has it changed? What do we need to do differently? How quickly can we do it? There is no time at this point to plan. You either had a good plan in place or you didn't.
Yeah.
And we're pulling that together and cementing it and going, okay, well, it's okay if it wasn't a good plan. What are we going to do now? Why are we going to do it now? What's that going to give us? And just that rapid fire turn. For larger scale businesses, they have different problems. You know, you have a monolith of an organization with call centers and so forth. That's hard. But the people who are working from home and the support and the nurture has been incredible. You know, I called yesterday an insurance company, personally, a health insurance company, and I got a Welsh lady who was working from home, and she said, look, I apologise if there's any background noise. You know, I'm working from home. I've never done that before. I'm used to being in a call centre environment. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. This is what we'll aim to achieve by the end of the call. Really clear, really systematic, really effective. And I didn't get the answer that I wanted, but actually I know exactly when she's going to do the next thing. I knew what I needed to do and what they were going to do. And so therefore that communication, that inherent sales thing is more important than ever before, supported by great operational excellence, agility and effectiveness.
Are you seeing from obviously inside one of the largest fires in the UK, from a vendor and a distribution perspective, is there a serious lack of supply in the market, or how is it working in terms of like stock and getting POs out for people? Because what I'm hearing is from some of the smaller partners, which will probably be able to do this more because they might be more agile, they're taking risks on not getting a confirmed PO from the supplier just to buy the stock, because if they don't buy that stock from that distributor, those 200 laptops or whatever they're going to buy, by the time they've got the PO and they go back, the 200 laptops aren't there. So how do you counteract that, and what are you seeing from a distribution and vendor point of view?
So I would say that, you know, clearly since the beginning of March, there has been increased demand for a particular product, mostly those that enable home working. You know, there has been a rush working products. But overall, I think the vendors and the distributors and actually the resellers have coped magnificently well. You know, we are again fortunate we have our own stock, plus you know, we have access electronically to over £1 billion worth of distributor EDI stock on a daily basis. And now clearly we've taken some judgments in terms of buying in some stock for ourselves, maybe a bit more than normal, and we have been really able to support those organisations, particularly public services that are most in need at this time. But is the supply chain perfect? No,
Well,
it wasn't perfect to start with. It certainly isn't perfect today, but it is functioning. I think it's very encouraging that China is pretty much fully open now. So most of the vendors are up to 100% strength in terms of their production. The supply chain from production to delivery is a little challenge, because clearly there are some carrier black spots across the globe that we face today. So I would say that as demand has increased, the vendors are doing really well to keep up with it. And they're starting to even out, because there is always the bell curve, and when this very started, it was China that was closed down, so there was a bit of a time lag because not all of the production facilities were 100% functional. Are people taking risks? Of course, people will take risks in these times. Will it work for them? You know, hopefully. Are there going to be some consequences of cash collection and things like that we're going to have to face in this agile manner? Of course, there are going to be. But I think that everybody's doing the very best that they can, and some are facing more challenges than others in the vendor community and in distribution. But overall, I think that the channel has responded magnificently to what's been thrown at us.
Yeah,
I echo Alex Tatham's interview with you the other day, and he said he couldn't be any more proud of every single person. All of a sudden, warehouse teammates have become your frontline staff.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are incredible. They've become key workers. They're carrying letters to make sure they don't get sent home by the police. There's never, ever been another time where that has happened. So it is testament to the commitment, dedication, passion, and desire to make sure, A, that we respond as an industry, and B, that we keep the country running. I think, all of a sudden, people in warehouses feel really connected to the client.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I echo that. I think, yes, the NHS have been fantastic, but there's certainly a lot of IT heroes out there. People delivering shipments in the warehouse, to service engineers going out and fixing Joe Blogg's laptop or Wi-Fi because they can't get on. I'm lucky at home. I haven't moved, but there's a lot of people out there still out there doing it, and I take my hat off to them. I think it's been great. In terms of operationally for companies, and I'm almost asking for a bit of advice for myself and the other listeners out there, the small organizations, from an operational point of view. Have you got any sort of advice for them to deployed at home? They're scared, they're worried, they're not used to collaborating at the moment, etc. How can they keep the operation going and being efficient as possible while not even in the same building? Have you got a couple of tips for the listeners out there?
Yeah, so I think it is about changing habits, isn't it? So what you needed to do yesterday is not what you need to do today, is not necessarily what you need to do tomorrow. But if your business isn't used to collaborating in that same way, you've got to rip off the Band-Aid and get used to it real quick. Set up morning calls, afternoon calls, have maybe a virtual kitchen that's open all the time that teammates can join in and just chat to each other. You have to change the social and business interaction so that they can feel part of something, really over communicate the reason why, over communicate everything that has been achieved in a short space of time. Ask people to make a bit of extra time at the beginning of a day or the end of a day, whatever suits the organization, to talk about highlights, lowlights, to allow you to shift if you need to shift. I think for smaller organizations, clearly that's they've got lots and lots of things to think about, and each individual probably does multiple tasks, and it can feel very overwhelming. But in addition, I think that to have that understanding that every person has got a story at the moment, every single person that I speak to, and I'm really trying very hard to reach out to as many people that I wouldn't normally talk to on a daily basis as I possibly can, and to listen to their story. Because let me tell you, if I'm feeling down, bad, tired, or put upon at any point in this whole cycle, speak to somebody else, and let me tell you, their story's worse. I'm after 250 teammates across 8 countries, and I talked to my teammates in Milan, and they've been in lockdown for 6 weeks. And so if you want to know about how to try and keep people motivated, go to somebody who is in that worst position, because it can help give you the energy and the incentive to just refresh yourself. But I would, very simple things. Take regular breaks during the day. If your child is having a meltdown, which my 5-year-old was earlier because she didn't want to deal with today, and you are on a one-to-one with your boss, which I was, you know what? She's going to come in. She wants a mummy cuddle. It's going to take 2 minutes. She calmed down. She stole my digestive biscuit, which I was going to have for breakfast, even though it was but it's the human side. As a leader, I'm a human too. I've got lots of challenges. I've got 6 people in my house. Whilst we have a garden and we have the luxury of space, everybody's got to be doing stuff. The bandwidth on the broadband's a challenge. Take a pause. Take a breath. It's okay. We're all in the same boat. Do I get up every morning and go, am I doing my very best? Am I doing my very best by every customer, public services or otherwise? Am I doing my very best by the distributors and by the vendors that we represent into these clients? Am I doing my very best by every teammate I possibly can in Insight? If the answer is yes, then I'm doing as best as anybody can in a situation that nobody has ever dealt with in the whole world ever before. And I think that, giving those smaller organizations that right to take a pause, we will, come out as an industry the other side of this. Will we be a different shape? Hell yeah. Will things have happened that are uncomfortable, unpalatable, and sad? Hell yeah. But if you can honestly say that you have done your very best, then that's what you've done. And you have to congratulate yourself for those small victories. We've had small victories as a business over the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks. In fact, we've had some big victories as well, but we've had some small ones that you just have to remind yourself, we're all in this together.
Yeah, absolutely. Gill, love speaking to you. Such great sort of solid candor advice out there for people. So, no, it's great.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.